Aloha. If you're by the door, please, Helen Mike, come on in, so we can start this week's gathering. I'm Mahina Martin with the County of Maui, sending regards from Mayor Vincent, who is in Washington, D.C. today. He's meeting with our federal delegation and others with key committee work. And his work involves securing whatever support we can get from our congressional agencies, from our federal agencies to our congressional representatives. So he sends his regards, his aloha. He will be returning back to Maui this week. But for now, we're going to continue with tonight's meeting. We are live on Facebook, and our aloha, of course, to Akaku for always following us around the island, no matter where we go. So whether you are here live or joining us by TV or by social media, we so enjoy having you. Tonight we have a full update from different federal state organizations. I believe our Department of Health is on their way as well. Hopefully she makes it. We'll be here as always afterwards to help with some questions and support our team in any way possible. At this time, before I turn it over to Amos from the Maui Emergency Management Agency to give the operational update, who will then go on to the Office of Recovery with Josiah Nishita, who heads that department. I did want to invite, I know she was standing by me, from the Mayor's Lahaina Advisory Team, Kaliko, to just share some manao. We always provide for that.
Okay. Aloha, good evening. On behalf of the Lahaina Advisory Committee, along with the Mayor, we just wanted to give an update of kind of what's been happening within our group, within the 6 buckets. We are moving along with the housing piece as we, again, become conduits with Haima, Mima, County, and then come down to our advisory committee. So we have many groups of our community members from all completely diverse of conversations. So they are in these pockets that we want you folks to know that we are getting them to the places as best we know how. And we also are being well updated with what's happening on their updates, and they're going to the different pockets of our community within our subcommittees. So we just want you to know within the housing piece, we're trying our best from the ground. And then other things such as the natural cultural resources, there's lots of boots on the ground that are saying that the systems that are put in place are doing the job. And so thank you. And we'll keep going from the advisory committee. Aloha.
Mahalo Kaliko. She reminded me that today was the opening day of the state legislature, and I was just there today. And 3 of the Lahaina advisory members, I guess they left you in the dust and left you here, was present. And they were honored, and Maui was honored at the opening day of the state legislature. They sat on the floor with the elected officials, was introduced, and our Maui representatives called for the Maui people to stand up and be recognized. A lot of discussion and support at the state level for Maui and our needs. And so much aloha just within that whole just morning. So I'm going to turn this over to Amos right now for us to proceed forward. Amos?
Aloha mai kako. My name is Amos Lono Kailua here at the new Maui Emergency Management Agency Administrator. Thank you for all coming tonight. I gave some updates last week, and the updates have not really changed, but let me just give you a little bit more information about what happened, what's kind of going on with MEMA. So I mentioned last week, the agency is running lean, but what we have is we do have 4 female positions that are helping with our MEMA operation, as well as a 6-person EMAC team that supports our EOC in case of emergency. We have been experiencing some problems. We are trying to fix some systems, including our phone system. If anybody has an issue with weather report or anything related to MEMA, please try and call our number, our main number. I'm going to give you that number. I'm going to give you that number live. 808-270-7285. Once again, 808-270-7285. We have people there to answer your phone call and address your situations or issues directly. So hopefully you don't have any problems. We did have a problem with that phone situation, but I believe we have it resolved. So we're here to serve you, and we want to be able to make that very easy for you. And we apologize if we're kind of struggling and straining moving forward, but we are there to serve you well. Let's get right into the operation and our updates. I know you guys' time is very valuable. I'm just going to turn this over to Curtis with FEMA. Thank you.
Thank you, Amos. There's been a lot of significant work since last week. This week, actually this morning, Colonel Curry will give an update on some of the debris. This morning, one property in Lahaina was cleared today, and the first debris went into the TDS this morning. So I didn't want to truly steal Colonel Curry's thunder, but it's significant for Lahaina to be able to move forward towards recovery. So he'll give you more detail about today, then also speak to you about what that may look like here moving forward. Also, over the last weekend, we had 2 right of entry informational workshops here in Lahaina. They were well attended by all of you. Just a reminder, there is another workshop January 27th that you'll be provided that same information from Maui County officials, the Army Corps of Engineers, and other subject matter experts. As I mentioned last Wednesday, we continue to appeal to property owners and managers of apartments for our direct lease program. Since last Wednesday, we are in the process of securing 200 more units. And so the more units that we secure over time, that provides that longer term housing for those displaced households. I wasn't going to mention, but I will mention, since last Wednesday, I've had 2 or 3 displaced households approach me about being evicted from, they weren't displaced households, they were displaced households that told me of friends that were evicted from properties here on Maui that weren't impacted by the fire, which causes another huge concern, not only for FEMA, but for the county and also for the state. And so I talked to the mayor last Wednesday, and there'll be more information coming out for those impacted by those land owners or those property owners that are evicting people with the hopes of getting their property secured by FEMA and or a county program or a state program. It just doesn't sound like to me that's aloha, if that makes sense to you. So just know that the mayor has the attention of that, as well as the governor, and they're looking into that. More information will be provided as they come up with the plan to address that. Also on Wednesday, I was approached regarding text messages regarding background checks for FEMA programs. We do conduct background checks. The property owners of those units wanted us to do that. And so I guess the message is truly, if you're fearful of failing the background check, just know that if you do fail, we are planning to have a unit for you. And so by getting the background checks of the over 1,000 folks eligible for FEMA programs, it just provides us to be more efficient in housing displaced households. So the point is, don't be afraid of the background check. It is a part of the process, and it helps us be more efficient. Lastly, FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, SBA, EPA, other federal agencies will be participating January 20th in the Unity Walk. So with that, all the work that we're conducting in the burn area, the 10th school, the TDS, and any other area that we're here or part of the disaster, we're going to be pausing those operations, not only to give the federal agencies a chance to walk and be united with the community, but it also gives the contractors that we've hired locally, either directly for FEMA or via contract with Army Corps, SBA, or EPA, the opportunity to recognize and be united with you. And so with that, as we did last Wednesday, we'll be off to the other side of the gymnasium to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Curtis. And again, aloha, everyone. Again, it's always a great privilege and very honored to be able to provide these updates to this community. As we do this work, we know that there's questions that we need to address, and there's story that we need to share. And again, we definitely appreciate you listening and entering into these conversations with us. So thank you for that. Today is a very big day for this recovery effort. It's not necessarily a big day for the Corps of Engineers or for FEMA or the federal agencies. It's a big day for this community because as Curtis mentioned, thunder effectively stolen. Today was actually yesterday was the official start date for the removal of debris from the residential properties here in Lahaina. So our contractor mobilized everything yesterday, got everything ready, and on the first property this morning began removing debris. That property is not hard to see from the highway as you make your way from here to Safeway. Just look for the big yellow excavators and you'll see that work ongoing. But again, really, really important milestone for this community. So we're very happy to provide that and to really get this started. What you're going to see in the coming days is a pretty rapid expansion of those efforts. We did start with the single property, but we already are intending, starting tomorrow, to open up an additional 2 properties with additional 2 teams. Between today and a week from today, so by the 24th, we expect to have 7 total teams working at once on 7 different properties. Right now, the previous properties that we've cleared typically would take about 3 days, maybe 5 days for the properties that we've done up in Kula. Most of the properties that we will be clearing here in Lahaina will take less time than that. The property we're working on today is going very, very well, but it also is going very quickly. I want to emphasize that one of the things that we recognize is that we are in the middle of your community, and we want to be visible. We want you to be able to see what we're doing because we are confident that all the promises that we've made over the last several weeks and a couple of months even, you're going to see that when you watch what we're doing out there on site. We have a lot of amazing people. Some of them are sitting here from my team up in the red and white shirts, but many, many more, as well as great contractors that are out there committed to doing this the right way. Cultural monitors, archaeologists on site to ensure that we protect what is sacred to your community while we do this very important work. I mentioned as we do expand, our goal is within the next 30 days to be through the first 100 properties. And as we do that, and I mentioned this in previous meetings, our priority given to us by the county is to those properties that are near and adjacent to existing homes that did not burn in the fire, ultimately expediting the ability for those neighborhoods to get back to the next phase of this recovery effort. So you'll see that as we start these properties over the next week to throughout the next month. Those are the properties we're focusing on. The second priority is to environmental risk. So those properties that are close to the shoreline, those properties that are near places where if that debris were to break free from its soil tack application, it posed an increased risk to the environment. So that's really the second priority that is directing how we're going to make our way through each of these neighborhoods. As we do this work, again, we will continually be communicating with the residents, the owners, the business owners, all those that we are entrusted with a right to enter your property. Again, that right of entry that has been submitted and are continuing to come in, all that does is gives us a right to step foot on your property. Part of that too is just constant communication. So all those property owners will be contacted at a minimum 72 hours prior to the start of their property. And that conversation is more of it's a scheduling conversation. It is, hey, your property is coming up in the list of the ones that we're getting ready to start. And we want to talk to you about, not only about the unique aspects of your property, what you put in your ROE, but also exactly when we're going to start and what we're going to do to provide you the ability to observe that, to watch that. Safety is always it's something we have to pay very close attention to. But again, remain committed for those property owners, business owners that want to be nearby and watch their property being cleared. We will facilitate that. I mean, that's all part of those conversations that will occur when that initial contact is made as your properties again get closer to the queue to those clearances starting. A couple of things I wanted to mention about the operations today, and I think the county did bring up a couple of pictures. Looking for the clicker. Oh, thank you. She's got it over there. So this was out at the property we started clearing today. You can see the dust control is something that we've talked a lot about. The individual there, is continually wetting down the debris to keep that dust from rising. What you don't see in this picture are the air monitors that were placed. Each individual in the burn zone is wearing an air monitor on their person for their protection, but there's also air monitors on the immediate perimeter of that property, and then additional air monitors that are set up according to which way the wind's blowing in order to be able to pick up any dust, any ash, anything that could possibly get in the air. But that gentleman there with that hose, that's his job to keep those air monitors from ever even going off. We had no air monitors go off today during that work, so he did a good job today. And I would tell you that, for the 25 properties that we did in Kula, they did a good job every day on every single one of those properties, and we did not have any incidences where the ash came up and off the property. And that's the standard we're going to hold to throughout every removal property that we do here in Lahaina. So go to the next one. That one. So what you see here is some of the dump trucks. If you were going past the area today, you probably would have been able to see several dump trucks just like this one coming up to that property and loading debris and departing to head to the temporary debris storage site to dump that property or to dump that debris. You can see the plastic what he's doing right now is they're in the process of lining that truck with this plastic. Once that truck is lined with the plastic, then the debris goes in, it gets wrapped and sealed so that it cannot come open during transport to the temporary debris storage site. Again, very, very successful today. We have our folks that follow those trucks to make sure that nothing unexpected happens. But again, as they use this technique on every property we've done thus far, it's been very, very effective at maintaining that dust and ash and anything that could possibly get into the air. So the last picture we'll show here is just a picture of the signs that are on the properties, and it might be hard to see from where you're at, but that's ultimately there's a series of signs that have been placed on these properties throughout phase 1 and phase 2. But those initials, there's multiple initials on each, and one initials are from the Corps, others are from the county to verify that all these steps are completed and taken, and we can move on to the next one. So from this particular picture, you can see everything's checked off up until the top of the second column that says debris removal. And that's because that's the stage we're at. And that will continue to move forward. And this will be, again, the process that we will follow for every property throughout Lahaina town. So we wanted to, again, if you hadn't seen that before, wanted to show that to you as well. A couple of the things before I pass off to the next speaker. Again, I did mention it. It really is a milestone week this week with being able to start this debris removal here in Lahaina. We actually also today 100% completed the final property in Kula. So 25 of those properties are done. Those rights of entry have now been given back to the county, and those Residents have been contacted, your property's done, the county has your paperwork, which includes the letter from the Corps of Engineers that certifies that property as clean, which is what is needed to start for that permitting process, or for those building permits to be approved. So again, very, very proud of what the team was able to do, and thankful for the community in Kula for supporting us throughout that process. But again, as of today, we are done there, and using all those lessons learned from Kula to be better for this community in Lahaina. The last thing I wanted to mention, again, just for those of you two more things. I really want to talk about the temporary debris storage site in Oluwalu. So as I mentioned, this debris coming out of off of the properties is going to the temporary debris storage site. That project, that facility is 100% ready to start receiving material. We would not have started if that were not the case. So as it started to receive material today, again, those teams out there are following all the procedures that we've talked about in previous meetings to protect the environment, to manage and control that material, which, as we all know, right now the material in Lahaina is in an uncontrolled, unmanaged environment, and that's why that temporary debris storage site is so important. And it has started doing that as of today. It's controlling, managing that material, so that, again, it is in a much better place for the protection of the environment, and we can get this moving forward. Last thing I want to mention, so we also want to provide a quick just update on the temporary school that is temporarily replacing the Kinkameme III school. Again, if you drive past up towards the Kapalua Airport, you can see that construction ongoing. I would say the rain over the last few days of rain that we've had have certainly thrown some challenges at the contractor, but tremendous work continuing on to go forward on that project, and still driving forward to be able to deliver that school to the Department of Education in time for students to be back in that school for fourth quarter of this academic year, which again, we're very, very thankful for the community. We're thankful for the contractor that is doing a tremendous job, and again, looking very much forward to that milestone when we get there. So we'll be around after the meeting tonight to answer any questions, as we always are. We do ask you that, particularly if you've got questions about ROEs, if you've got questions about the process for debris removal, please come talk to us, because we want to make sure that you are 100% comfortable with everything that we're doing for this community and for you. So thank you, and I'll pass off to EPA.
Aloha. My name is Carl Banks. I'm the incident commander for EPA's water mission. I have been blown away by this community, the welcome given, the offers of friendship, the support and guidance we've received in order to be successful. This mission is our kuleana, and it is our honor to have it both as an agency and as personally. Mahalo for the support thus far. As you know, the hazardous waste removal mission was completed, and that team has departed the island. Phase one is indeed complete, which is a great success. But the EPA's water and wastewater mission has been on island since August, supporting the County of Maui in water and wastewater. Our first mission assignment given to us by FEMA was to provide technical assistance to the County of Maui, Department of Water Supply, and Department of Environmental Management. And we will continue to do so. EPA supports the County of Maui and the community in the goal to allow people to return to their homes when it is safe to do so. In order to facilitate that, FEMA has given EPA a second mission assignment, which is sewer line inspections. There's about 99,000 linear feet of sewer lines that need to be inspected. If you're asking yourself why these sewer lines need to be inspected, I think it's important to understand a few things. Before the fire, the sewer lines were mostly filled with sewage. That is mostly fresh water with organic material. This is food for the treatment plant. The treatment plant, the wastewater treatment, is accomplished by microorganisms which essentially eat the food. As a result of the fire, a direct impact was this sewage was no longer entering those pipes. And in its place, salty water entered those pipes. And that salty water would kill those microorganisms. So we cannot allow that water to go into the treatment plant. And so there are sections of Lahaina where the wastewater lines are plugged in order to protect the treatment plant. We are conducting sewer line inspections in order to provide more rapidly to the county information on these wastewater collection lines so that they may be rapidly repaired. Our mission, which we are in our final preparations for, working with our contractor, will begin the first week of February. Once we begin our mission, it'll take about 30 days to complete this inspection, after which we'll be giving the data to the County of Maui so that they can prioritize areas for repair. Prior to starting our work, we will provide public notice to occupied residences at least 48 hours before we begin work in that area, and we'll have 5 days to complete the work after that time. As guests on this island, EPA is going to hold ourselves accountable to conduct this work with the utmost respect and reverence for Maui's history and culture. Mahalo for your support, and we'll be available for questions likewise after the speakers. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shane Agawa. I'm the Director of Environmental Management. First off, I'd like to say that I'm happy to be back after extended absence. I spent some time with my family during the holidays, much needed time off. And then I contracted an illness, which kept me out an additional week. So some of you have been probably wondering where I've been. And I'd like to thank our Deputy Director, Bob Schmidt, for keeping the ship upright at Environmental Management during my absence. But I'm glad to be back. So bear with me. I just got back to work yesterday, trying to catch up on everything that's been going on. Tonight, I'm going to give you an update on our wastewater operations, what's been going on in Lahaina. So our wastewater division has been continuing their work on Front Street. As I mentioned before, Front Street is one of our trunk lines. It collects the sewer, takes it to our pump stations, and ultimately to our treatment plant in Honokowai. We lost service to 3 of our pump stations, Pump Station 5, 6, and 7. Pump Station 5 is the one near Malu'ulalele Park. Pump Station 6 is near Shark Pit area, and Pump Station 7 is in the Puamana gated community. I'm happy to say that due to the tireless work of our wastewater division staff, we've gotten those pumps back online and running. However, we're still testing to make sure that they can run automatically. We've had staff going out there testing it manually. It's been working, but we want to make sure that it can run automatically before we start putting that system back online. What that means is that, well, before I go on to what that means, I want to also say that the plugs that Carl mentioned, and he gave a great definition of what we did to isolate our system from the saltwater intrusion. But those plugs that were installed has been holding. They've been doing well. And our treatment plant, I'll speak a little bit on that. It's fragile right now still. As Carl mentioned, the salt water has disrupted the biological process at our treatment plant. What that means is that some days, there's good days in our treatment system. So if you want to compare it to, say, like your digestive system, and you catch a bug, right? We have enzymes, bacteria to help our digestive system. On a bad day, you know what happens coming out of the back end. On a good day, that's what's happening at our treatment system. We got bad days and good days. So we've been working with our current, one of our design consultants out there. We have a plan. In the next week or so, we're going to introduce a biological treatment. Think of it as Pepto-Bismol for our system. And we're going to have to monitor and test that. And we're hoping that in about a month, our system will stabilize. What that stabilization means is that because we have pump stations 5, 6, and 7 back online, we could possibly return sewer service all the way down to Puamana in the next month or so. I also want to thank EPA for the support, as Carl mentioned, that they've been giving us in getting our system inspected. We cannot do this alone. It's too big of a task. It's going to really help us out in getting people back to their homes. There've been a lot of questions asked about how do I tie back into the sewer system? When can this happen? Well, first of all, we need to know if our system is good, if it's capable of servicing everybody. And with the help of EPA, it's going to give us the data so that our people and our consultants can analyze the system, and we can start prioritizing which portions of our system we can get back online to get people back into their homes. And lastly, I want to mention there was a question that I was asked to answer that was brought up in the ROE meeting, and it's pertaining to the Wahikuli area. And the question was, if I decide to build or construct a septic system, when and if that sewer line that the county is planning and working with EPA to bring into the Wahikuli area comes online, am I going to be required to tie into that sewer system? And the answer is yes. I want to refer to Maui County Code 1421A010, and that's where you can go and get more information on that. I want to repeat, it's Maui County Code 1421A010, and the time that people have per the code as written is 180 days to tie in once that sewer line comes down your street. 180 days from the time we give notice that the sewer system is up and running in the street, you have 180 days. Is that set in stone? Right now, as a code as written, yes, it is. But we're willing to work with council or whoever to change the legislation to see if we can modify that for people who maybe has a septic system or wants to get a septic system. And then you don't want the next week to have this line coming down and then you only get 1 week of use of your septic system. So we're willing as DEM to work with that, work our way through. So I'll be here to answer any more questions about sewage and wastewater issues. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Kimo Lange, Deputy from Water Supply. So I have a few updates. So we plan to amend Area 4D by this Friday. It took us a couple of weeks longer because there was some fire damage debris that we needed to get removed so we could complete our work. Well, that's been removed and we completed the work. So we'll be amending 4D as of this Friday. Also, on our mapping, you will see a slight change. Right now we have green and orange. Green means it's safe and orange means it's unsafe. Well, there'll be addition, there will be a green crosshatch. Those will only be for the larger multi-residential properties that have had fire damage structures on them. And what that's gonna mean is you need to check with your property management company or AO to find out if your water is safe for drinking and cooking. I have, and Department of Health Safe Drinking Water Branch has reached out to those properties to let them know what they need to do for their diligence. Okay, so now we got areas 5 and 6, roughly 1,800 service laterals and several miles of pipe. We're gonna start to ramp up our work efforts and try to get those through as quickly as we can. We hope to get some help from one of our partners in completing that task. And the last thing is, if your meter was removed, it was removed because we needed to have a physical disconnect between the damaged structure and the water system. But when you are ready to rebuild your residences, we will put in a brand new meter and there will be no charge for that. So if you guys have any questions, you can come and see me after. Thank you.
Aloha everyone, my name is Mary Simpkins. I'm with External Relations with the American Red Cross. First, the numbers, our shelter count as of midnight last night was 5,400 some odd clients and about 2,400 households across 32 sheltering sites. As your temporary emergency sheltering solution, we are very proud to serve this community, and I want to let it be known that at this point in the shelters, the folks that you're working with the Red Cross, that is your community. We're a largely local workforce at this point. Then there's folks like myself with the Michigan accent. I came here for a 3-week deployment in September, and I'm here until this operation no longer needs me. Right now, there's a couple of changes happening with our government partners. We're helping folks get back into their habitable homes. So of the 110 habitable homes, we've got the vast majority of people moved home. And many folks are pleased to rejoin their neighbors and communities. And for those that have concerns, they can work with their shelter resident transition team to receive funds and resources such as air purifiers, cleanup kits and masks, those sorts of things. Again, we're working closely with our trusted government partners and community partners. I want to let this community know that you have passionate advocates at every level of government and throughout your community. The second thing that's going on right now is some people that have been in the emergency shelters in condos are being moved into hotels, again at the direction of our government partners, with the long-term goal of freeing up inventory for long-term leasing. So the goal is always to get the clients in our care into the next chapter of their recovery, into a better housing situation. Mahalo.
Hello, my name is Kathy Ho, and I'm the Deputy Director for Environmental Health. I wanted to give you an update of what DOH is doing. First, in our clean water branch, we've entered into a contract to do nearshore sampling. So nearshore sampling means we're taking samples, our contractor is taking samples of beaches and other nearshore areas. The second thing I wanted to say for Clean Water Branch is that we also are entering into an MOA, Memorandum of Agreement with the University of Hawaii, to do some testing on fish. So those people who we've been having questions about whether it's safe to fish, we're entering into a partnership with the University of Hawaii to do some testing on fish. The Department of Health, in terms of wastewater, has been working with our county and federal partners in trying to come up with solutions for temporary housing in both clean water and wastewater. Normally, I talk about the amounts of how many sensors we have when we talk about clean air. Today, I wanted to, when we first started this, I've been at almost every community meeting, and I apologize in advance to those of you who've heard this. But when we first started this, it was because the community was concerned about their air quality, particularly up at the schools. So what we did was we put up air sensors, purple air sensors, and we explained the reason why we did that. And that is because in the fire, there was heavy metals, that is lead and arsenic and dioxins. And those heavy metals stick to the ash. It's sticky, so it stuck to the ash. And people were concerned that they were being exposed to it. And so we put up some sensors up at the schools and at people's homes and around Lahaina. And we explained that when the purple sensors turned, they normally are green, but if they turned yellow or red, that means that there is some particulate in the air, that we didn't know what it was, but it is a particulate in the air. And so when the Corps of Engineers started when they started their phase 2, what we did was, and I explained then, that when they started doing their debris removal, what we did was we put up a bunch of purple air monitors. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to see whether the purple air monitors and whether the Corps of Engineers dust mitigation was good. And as it was reported today, it was for the most part, it was green. But simultaneously, what we did also was we took soil samples up in Kula. and we analyzed it for heavy metals. And we found that there were elevated levels of heavy metals in the Kula ash. So what we did was we asked the Corps of Engineers to come and, not the Corps, the EPA, to place soil tack in the Lahaina area, which they did. We also then put up a bunch of air samples, purple air monitors, to determine whether there was any ash that was blowing up. And we found, for the most part, it was green. But we also then decided that we would do sampling in Kula, in Lahaina. And we did that, and we found that it was elevated levels of arsenic and lead and cobalt, but it wasn't as high as in Kula. We also said that it was toxic, so you guys had to take care of yourselves when you were around the ash. And so here we are now, and we also, and as you know, I have been reporting when the Corps of Engineers was doing its phase 2, we were also doing air sampling of the work, taking samples of the air as they were doing the debris removal. And I would report to everyone that for the most part, there was no asbestos in the air, and the levels of heavy metals was below the reportable quantities. So here we are now that they're starting the Corps of Engineers is starting the debris removal in Lahaina. And so what we did was we put up 4 air samplers in Lahaina. So I'll be able to report to you the air, if there's asbestos or heavy metals in the air as we get those results. But what we also did was we put up 40, there's a total of 40 purple air sensors and E-bands. There are 28 purple air sensors in Lahaina, and there are 10 E-bands, and we have 10 E-bands, and we have 4 asbestos and heavy metal sampling equipment. And also tomorrow, we are going to have a couple of teams from the Clean Air Branch coming to do some additional purple sensors. We're hoping to put up 12 in Lahaina and another 8 in Olowalu. And so hopefully we ask you to, if you ever care or if you are interested in what's your air quality, to look at the website air.firenow.gov. Also, shout out to, we have 2 people here from DOH that live on island, Dr. Livaday from Behavioral Health, and Becky, who is our clean air person who lives in Lahaina. And we will be in the yellow right behind the screen to answer any questions that you guys might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Before I turn this over to Josiah, who is going to talk a little bit about Office of Recovery, I did want to let everyone know that with regards to the permanent containment site for the ash and debris, we'll be coming out to the community to talk about the options and to learn from what the community sentiment is on that. So there has been no movement on that. We're only trying to clear out the debris today, and we'll be dealing with the permanent site and community discussions in a later date. And so more details are coming in the weeks ahead. I'm going to turn this over to Josiah Nishita from our Office of Recovery.
Thank you, Mahina. Aloha, everybody. Josiah Nishita, Managing Director of the County of Maui, as well as leading the Office of Recovery efforts. It's my joy to talk to you tonight about permitting Many of you have never heard those words together, joy and permitting. For any of those of you out there who have gone through the permitting process before, I'm sure you've had your own struggles and challenges that you face. So obviously, why is this important? Why is an expedited permitting process important for our disaster impact area within Lahaina? Well, you heard about some of the items today, some of the great work that U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, our FEMA partners, and many others are working on to clear out the debris. And then you also heard from our Red Cross partners about how they're working hard to transition individuals, to be able to get people back to stable housing, to more long-term options. So what's one of those things that is important in that transition period is, of course, as properties become cleared and readily available, we want to be able to get people back to their homes and back to their properties. One thing I can say that some other communities have gone down, what expedited permitting will not be, is for any of those of you who are Oprah fans and watch her Christmas specials, it will not be a Christmas special where you get your permit, you get your permit, you get your permit. What we want to do is make sure that we're building back safer in an expedited fashion. So there will be processes in place to make that happen. We won't be going through the traditional process that's established for anybody else who's gone through permitting previously under a much shorter time frame. So there's some code changes, some other changes we're going to be going through with council and community members in order to get enacted so that we can proceed with that. Expedited permitting will include expediting the first single-family dwelling and first accessory dwelling unit with a permissible accessory structure on each lot. One of the things that we've seen from other communities, including I think Sonoma is one of them, that there's this balance that has to take place, right, between building back extremely quick versus building back better and safer. And so to the extent possible, we're trying to straddle that to make sure to get people back as quickly as possible to their homes. But places like Sonoma or in Butte County, they've had, I think, at least 3 or 4 major wildfires as they've built back over time. And so we want to make sure that everything that you folks have gone through, that the processes we put in place and what's built back there will help ensure that something like this never happens again. So please be patient with us. We are in the process of streamlining these systems and working with council to get those processes expedited. We have issued a request for proposals, which is basically just government speak for trying to get applications from different entities who are interested in assisting us in this endeavor. And so that process closed. We're in the process of evaluating all the proposals. We'll be conducting interviews and assessments with some of these companies who will be able to assist us in reviewing and expediting and issuing permits to people with properties within the impact area. And then we anticipate final selection will be made probably sometime around February 16th, with the goal of having an office stood up in Lahaina ready to receive permits in person and processing it for each of our residents impacted. Probably by the end of March. So that's the goal that we're shooting for right now. Of course, we'll have further updates and information as time goes on. One of the big questions that we get all the time, which is our intention is to move towards this, is what happens if infrastructure is not ready to your property, such as water service or sewer service, by the time your property is cleared and ready to be built upon again. And our intention is to allow the process to start, to be able to issue permits and allow construction to begin with the goal that the underlying infrastructure, such as water or sewer service, will be available to the property in time for habitation of the unit so that we can help streamline some of these processes and get people back to their homes as quickly as possible. We'll, of course, be available for questions after this meeting. And we'll be continuing working with the community further as we go along. Some of you may have been here at the last meeting when I talked about the 6 different teams that are in the Office of Recovery. And one of them, the community planning function, is running the expedited permitting process. So they'll be able to share further information and updates as we go along, as well as I believe next week we're shooting for further information to you folks about the public sentiment analysis that was done in coordination with our FEMA partners, about all the testimony and feedback that we've been hearing from the community, ideas, policy suggestions, and things of that nature, as well as helping you folks understand what the engagement process will look like in that long-term recovery plan, and how you can stay engaged throughout it to help make decisions for the future of Lahaina. So we appreciate you all being here today. I'll be available after this meeting, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. So that's the end of our meeting. All of the partners will be available to answer questions with you tonight. So drive home safely. If you need to talk to anyone, please come and spend some time with us. Thank you so much. Aloha.